Weaponizing victimhood. I think Colleen Hoover is severely underestimated, and I'm going to explain to you why. I made a graph. Let's get into it. Let's start with her accomplishments. Right off the bat, we've got It Starts With Us being her highest debut, selling 800,000 copies on the first day. Almost 1 million copies on the very first day. Yeah, I can see why Blake and Ryan were gunning for the sequel. They wanted every bit of that. 800 copies on the first day. Could you imagine the movie? Yeah, that's exactly why they wanted this. But why did Colleen want this? Before Miss Hoover was an author, she was a social worker making $9 an hour living in a trailer. Keeping that in mind, 7 months after the release of her first book, she was on the New York Times bestseller list and making over $50,000 in royalties. That's a huge jump. Now, keeping all of that in mind, we continue on. It Ends With Us was the #1 bestseller for 86 weeks. 2022 was her year, though. Out of the top 10 books of the year, 6 of the 10 were her books. And that same year, she sold between 14.3 to over 20 million books. And that's compared to 1.88 million that she sold in 2021. That's an over 600% increase. So she jumped tremendously. And a lot of that has to do with TikTok and book talk, which a lot of people say that she's the queen of book talk. Her fan base is very large and tight-knit and loyal. So a lot of people thinking, hey, this It Ends With Us drama is going to hurt her career. They don't pay attention to this stuff. You got to keep in mind, these are readers. They're not on their phone scrolling through the internet, seeing what we're talking about. They're reading another book. And most people that read, they don't really dive into who the author is and want to figure out their personality and everything about them. It's mainly focused about, here's the book, get to the next book. The author isn't the main focus. It's not like music where people focus in on the singers. It's not like that. So going on, in 2022, Reminders of Him sold 6 million copies and was translated to 45 different languages. She is just up and up and up from here. Then in 2022, she sold more books than Dr. Seuss and the Bible, and also more books than James Patterson and John combined. Okay? Now, her fan base, they call her Coho, and then they call themselves cohorts. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyways, she has her own private Facebook group. They're very tight-knit over there. Now, by 2025, she has sold more than 35 million books. And her publisher calls it the Reverse Oprah Book Club. With all of that in mind, we know that money changes people. So how did it change Colleen? With It Ends With Us, she sold the rights to Justin. So essentially, she probably got a flat rate. Here you go. This is what you're getting for the movie rights. And then maybe they added something into her contract about her getting some kind of producer credit. That's about it. Now, with her essentially creating this Heartbones Entertainment, her own production company, now she can leverage her contracts a lot more. Not only does she have the leverage because of her fan base and how popular her books are, but now she has her own production company, so she can tweak things even more. And essentially she's investing in herself and potentially getting more money in the long run, depending on how the movie success is, versus her just getting a flat rate. And if the movie does tremendous, she might not get any bonus from that. So with It Ends With Us, on a $25 million budget, they made $350 million. $24 million was in the first day. Pretty successful. Now, of all of that, I couldn't tell you how much she has, but her net worth is around $10 million. Could money be a factor there? And when we look at the timeline, it makes you wonder, did Blake and Ryan get in her head? January 11, 2023 was the initial filing for Heartbones Entertainment, but it wasn't officially finalized at this time. The same time that this is happening, Justin is meeting Blake for the first time. Then months and months go by. We've got all the It Ends With Us drama. May 6, 2024, we have the dinner with Justin, Jamie, and Colleen where they fill her in on everything that's been happening. So right after this dinner, she called Brandon. So we can assume with that between January and May, Blake got to her. In some kind of capacity, Blake got to her. Because she's only been on set for maybe one day. Why is she on Blake's side all of a sudden? Well, we'll go into it. So So we've got the premiere drama that happened. Then September 13th, it's announced Paramount is buying the rights to one of her books. Oh, look at that. September 27th, Van Zandt 1 through 10. October 7th, it's announced Universal is buying the rights to one of her books. October 10th, the LLC was filed for Heartbones production. Then, November 22nd, we've got Liz Plank filing an LLC for Liz Plank production with the same address as Van Zandt, using the same agent as Blake and Ryan and Van Zandt, because Blake and Ryan use Eric Binder for all of their businesses, including Van Zandt, and now Liz Plank is also using him coincidentally and the same address for her production company. Everyone's getting a production company, apparently. I guess I need one too. Just joking. Okay, so now we've got December 20th, we've got the CRD complaint. Very next day, New York Times article. And then 2 days after that, we have Liz is leaving the Justin's podcast, and a pro Blake Lively account starts posting pro Blake stuff. Like right off the bat, he's going hard. Same one that Ryan follows. Interesting coincidence. The very next day after that, December 24th, Stephanie Jones, coincidentally, this is so funny to me, I'm sorry. She filed a complaint against Justin, Melissa, and just happens to also be 1 through 10 Jane Does. But it's not Van Zandt that she's going after. She's going after, just randomly, coincidentally, she's going after 1 through 10 Jane Does the same year that Van Zandt is going after. That's not obvious at all. Then 31st comes around, Blake has her lawsuit. Woo! What's interesting about Colleen's production company is the agent that she used is Allison H. Binder. I haven't been able to find any relation between Allison and Eric, but nevertheless, it's still fascinating because I'm not sure how Colleen even met this woman. I couldn't tell you. But nevertheless, she has some interesting tidbits. So Allison works exclusively with Television Academy, who owns the Emmys. They own it. I don't know who would want to connect her to that person. But someone else that works for Television Academy is Jill. And Jill has worked with Ryan. It always comes back to Ryan. We'll circle on back now. Who else has worked for Television Academy? Sony and Warner Brothers. Sony, Ryan. Warner Brothers, Ryan. You see how it keeps going back to Ryan? Yeah, okay. Now, Jimmy Kimmel has hosted the Emmys 3 times. Now, who was the first guest that he had back on when his channel, like his show came back on? Ryan. All right. Now, Ian Stewart also worked for Television Academy. He's a producer. Now, he has produced different shows that you should know. Victoria's Secret, The Runway. Yeah, he did it. He specifically worked on the ones that Taylor Swift was the performer for. Okay. He's also worked on iHeart Radio Music Awards. If you have any question where Colleen stands, just look at who she's following. Blake, Gigi, Blake Brown Beauty, Taylor Swift, Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, Sony, Paul Fig, New York Times. All of It Ends With Us cast except for Justin, Jamie, Wayfarer, Alex Sachs, and Hassan. Interesting. The only reason that she's trying to separate herself from the lawsuit comes down to money. Because look at this. Regretting You on a $30 million budget made $90.4 million. When it first started, it was only showing $5 million. So it took a while to get to that 90. Keeping that in mind, it only made $1.22 million in the first day, compared to the $24 million from It Ends With Us. In my opinion, Colleen wasn't a fish swimming with sharks. She was a baby shark learning how to be a shark. And Blake and Ryan taught her everything that she needed to know. This is all alleged, so take it with a grain of salt. This was actually a suggestion from one of you viewers, so thank you so much for that. If you guys have any other suggestions of what you want me to talk about, any video ideas, let me know. Comment down below. I try to get to them first before I do my other videos because it's something you requested. So Comment down below. As always, this is all edge. Take it with a grain of salt and follow me for more.